Hi everyone, so here is Moonlight Soul with my soul sister Marissa from Growing the Flow, and we bring in to you the Stars and Cards episode 9, part 1, where we'll be talking about the lunar eclipse in Taurus, which is the last one in this eclipses in Taurus Scorpio Axis that's been going on for past 2 years. So welcome Marissa, it's nice to see you again. I'm happy for us to get together.
You too. Me too. It's great to be here.
Thank you. So how have you been?
Appropriate. Episode 9. So how perfect that we're culminating into this ending here in many ways, as it seems we often are when we get together and talk. There's endings and new beginnings always, right? So the ride continues. We left off talking about how we might have felt post previous eclipse and in that in between. And so here we are still in that place as we record this, but preparing for this culmination that's coming in. So I've been definitely getting feelings of yesterday when I brought through the messages for this week. There's a song called Last Dance by Donna Summer. It's kind of like a disco song, and it's like last dance, last chance, and it's sort of like this wrapping up all those things, culminating from all the way back, as you said, from November of 2021. So
Yeah, and it's very interesting that because as we spoke in our personal conversation, and I mentioned to you the download I got yesterday about the song, the Earth song from Michael Jackson, and then when I looked at actually when it was released and what was going on in the sky at the time, it just blew my mind. And it's again, like you said, with the last dance, last chance to wrap things out, and this wrap things up, and this is kind of like on a larger scale exactly what's going on for us collectively, and I'm sure for many of us individually as well, that there is this opportunity to really wrap things up, the things of the past.
yeah, I love that you brought that song through. It's so beautiful. I haven't gotten to watch your full message yet, but just in seeing the preview of it, I'm really excited because I love that song and I love the message. And as you're saying that, first of all, music communicating to us is such a beautiful medium for bringing through messages. And that connects me to Archangel Sandalphon, the archangel of music, and also connecting us into our Earth Star chakra, which is literally where we meet the ground. And so the fact that you're bringing through earth energy with the earth song, and I'm talking about dancing with our feet on the ground and bringing things down to earth as we go into a Taurus energy of this eclipse, just feels really like we're bringing things down to practical application. All of these things that have been coming in that we've been sort of getting glimpses of and moving through and certainly feeling the effects of, even if we couldn't quite identify, we're now coming into this place where we're going to have this opportunity to really anchor it in and ground it and bring it into practical use in our lives. So that feels really appropriate.
Exactly. And I mean, Taurus is an earth energy, it's
Mm-hmm.
an earth element, and also Venus, the ruler of the eclipse. And she was an eclipse of the previous ruler of the previous eclipse, of course, because Libra is also ruled by Venus. But Venus is still in the sign of Virgo, and she's actually quite busy from the sign of Virgo because the kite is again forming the shape in the sky, because there is the trine to Uranus and trine to Pluto, and then opposition to Neptune, and all these things are happening. So, and as of today, we are in Scorpio season when we're recording this video for you guys. So this is all very feminine energy, a lot of water, a lot of earth, an opportunity to ground, go within, feel your feels, feel your emotions, and reevaluate. A lot of reevaluation of what really matters.
Yeah, I love it. So it's definitely resonating. So when I pulled out our moonology cards, of which I feel like there's many because there is so much going on, because not only is it that full moon in Taurus, which in fact says, your dreams need a practical plan. These ideas, these thoughts, these inspirations need to be brought down to earth and put into practical application. And then we have a full moon eclipse. So it is about conclusions being within reach. So culminating into endings and finishing out this phase, finishing out this month, finishing out this eclipse cycle, all of the things that are concluding. And then I just pulled out the general full moon as surrendering to the divine, because there is this energy of surrender. There is this energy of allowing. And so that's some messages that have been coming through for me this month. in the, okay, I planted the seeds, I made the intentions, I've been doing all of that. Okay, now I want to say how this is going to happen, right? And so I was bringing through this message about the howing of how, I want to now dictate the details. I planted the seeds, I set the intentions, and now I'm expecting it to come in a very particular package. And when I don't see that, I might start to feel some of those emotions, some of those feelings, So it's just feeling that energy coming in, that rather than how, allow, and allow the universe to do its thing. And so it all feels quite aligned with these energies that we've been picking up on and had coming in all this time. So
yeah, and the one thing that really came through for me yesterday as I was preparing my video for this lunation on my YouTube channel was that there is this big Jupiterian topic for me, because actually Jupiter is in conjunction with Moon during this eclipse, and it's all in opposition with what's going on the other side in a Scorpio. And during that first eclipse in Taurus in 2021, in November 2021, Jupiter was actually the ruler of the North Node. And well, it was in the Sagittarius. Oh no, it was in the South. Sorry, it was the rule of the South node. It was the obviously square in the nodes. It was the resolution node. It was the South node, and this is all the stories. And it's also like it's the thing that been coming up for me from different sources was our attachment to these stories, to this outdated belief system. There is this strong attachment to it, where we actually believe it so much that we think that this is the only truth that there can be. So even like what you just mentioned is with this that we have this idea in our head how it should be. We're so attached to this one story and how it has to play out that we don't even see all these other options. And now with this full moon in Taurus and Jupiter actually being with the conjunction with the moon, there is an opportunity for certain stories to culminate and a new stories to start over, for us to create a different story because of everything else that we had the opportunity to experience in the past 2 years.
absolutely. Yeah. Really, really closing out chapters, turning the page, and, really starting to look to infinite possibilities. And then again, taking each of those things and bringing them down, and just one step at a time, or one shift at a time, that we can begin to weave this new story. Yeah. I love
Yeah,
that. Um,
absolutely.
so it's a full moon. So that means we're going to pull a Queen of the Moon Oracle card. So we're going to get our spread up here so we can start talking about it. We always like
Yep.
to see what's coming up from the Queen of the Moon as a theme around this lunation. So let's set that intention, see what's coming forward.
Yep. Yeah, and this eclipse is happening directly on my sun, so I'm curious to hear.
All right, let's see. Let's see what is coming up. Ah,
Whoa,
the
interesting.
will, the will. I like that word too. That's another word I like, because sometimes it can be taken out of context to say someone is willful, which can kind of mean like stubborn, or has their will, thy will be done, this idea. But actually, when we have the will to do something, it really is putting our energy behind something, but then we allow. I don't know, I'm just feeling that energy. I'm going to see what it says. This is card 13. So the energy of, also 13 is the death card in the major arcana. So it's bringing in Scorpio energy, and it's bringing in energy of, again, turning the page and moving into the new and what is transforming in our lives.
Yeah, and when we put it together, it's a number 4. So creating a new stability in our life, like because Saturn obviously is in the sign of Pisces, which means that there are so many things that we were relying on that gave us the sense of security and stability that are just not longer there or are dissolving. So I feel that now it really is an opportunity, because especially with this full moon in Taurus, lunar eclipse, and after the North Node had been in the sign of Taurus for a year and a half, it is an opportunity to actually understand like how much resourcefulness lies within you. This self-reliance, self-efficiency, but most and foremost to actually see yourself as the resource. That whatever you want to create, the tools are within you. You are the resource. You are the asset. So with this will, it can be explained in so many different ways, because of course you need to have the strong will, but you need to have the will to go after something, but you can also will something into happening, right?
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. Like the first reference to me was like, I just thought of the word willful, somebody being willful, which I feel like has a little bit of a connotation of being sort of like insistent or in some way pushing, but actually I think, and I do think that this card is hitting on the energy of the decisions that you make require action. So there's an action that comes after making a decision, and it's talking about you being in control of your own decisions in life, but no one else's, and recognizing that passion and will determine a great proportion of your success. You will persist. You possess free will, which I think is another important reference, as do all, which means you should focus on yourself first and avoid placing your will over another's. So it's highlighting free will choice, but then also attempting to will something for others, in which case, we start to cross into other people's free will. So it's kind of taking that concept and saying that the word will can kind of feel like an old-fashioned concept, in a modern world where it seems like everything is geared up to just be as easy as possible. So there's always someone else that we can blame or look at for things. The idea of placing our personal will persistently into something seems outdated, is what she's saying, is her take on it here. So I'm just kind of feeling into the mantra. It says, I have the will to make the changes I need. And I guess that's kind of too, like, it's been a ride, and it's a lot of people might be feeling very exhausted physically and feeling very like, I don't know if I have it in me to continue persevering and pushing through things. I don't know if I have the will to take those steps, and that's to be understood, because we're feeling those physical effects of all of this energy. And we talked last time about getting off of the amusement ride and feeling that dizziness, and just feeling that energy of just kind of coming back into our body, and how in some cases, aspects of our different energetic bodies, mind, body, spirit, emotion, that some of those things are still out of alignment, because things have been happening so rapidly and so many changes, that the best thing to do is to get grounded, to come back into your body, to connect with nature, to look around the room and see, use your senses to get in touch with those things, so that you can kind of get your bearings, and then perhaps find that renewed will to persevere, or to get clarity on then the actions we're going to take through that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like based on what the book description is saying, I'm really tapping into this Saturn energy, because the number 4 represents Saturn, and because it is like, it does require a strong will and determination to achieve what you want. Of course, there is all this law of manifestation and attraction, and like it doesn't have to all happen just in the material realm, but you have to be persistent, right? And with Saturn in astrology, of course, like from the traditional perspective especially, like you have to put the work in. Saturn is not just going to give you the blessings like, yeah, here you go, that's Jupiter. But with Saturn is more like it takes time. It takes time and perseverance for us to see the results of what we've been working towards. And also what you were saying about the senses and grounding, that's very much Taurus. And it's also this yin energy, which now being a Scorpio season, and this being a full moon in Taurus, which is again feminine energy, and the rule of Virgo being in the sign of Virgo, which again is a earth feminine energy. It is very introspective. It is very like we have to go within again, because in Libra season it was all about this external stimulation, getting the like feedback and impact and messages and downloads, like regarding other people, like the external environment. We were being impacted by the external environment, but now because of the Scorpio season and the energy that is out there, we are invited to now process it inwardly, because there was so much overstimulation. And also, like you said, there is a lot of it's pretty much our system, our human body is under attack of all this overstimulation, and it's a lot. It's a lot, and it takes some taking a break and having actually time to process it, because we're living in this time and age where everything is 24/7. There is no time just to really like, you know, process things and let it digest and stuff. It's just this continuous inflow of information, overstimulation of things continuously happening, and never having the time to stop and just be. And with Scorpio season, it is about deep investigation and inquiry, like going really deep within.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely, there's just been a lot of intensity in all of that. And I just think that I even see that here in this card, where she has the crescent moon on her crown, and she has a mask actually over her eyes, where it's giving me that going within and trusting intuition and following that guide, as opposed to the external. And even just looking at that big collar, which I would call like an Elizabethan collar, I guess, like that particular style. And it's reminding me of you know, in color healing, when we work with the different chakras, one of the lesser known chakras perhaps is the Alta Major, which is on the back of our neck at the base of your skull. And that actually is quite an important chakra, because it acts sort of like a filter or a screen to the external, to the environment outside. And when that chakra is blocked or out of alignment, it's often, you know, the environments that we've been in have been either rather harsh or intense, or you know, from an empath perspective, you're sort of absorbing a lot of things from your external environment, that even it is said like to wear scarves or some kind of clearing around the neck as a protective way to protect you from some of those external energies, or to clear them out. You know, I always think of it like a mesh screen that like has to be cleared every now and then. So again, it reminds me of sort of like coming through this period where there has been so much intensity in the external and so much interaction there, that as we are invited to go within, that there could be sort of a feeling of sort of a protective energy or a clearing of that, to come back into ourselves and connecting with our environment, immediate environment around us, as far as getting grounded, but then going within and going to the intuition and following that as a guide.
Well, there are few things that come to me, like just looking at the card, because that peacock blue, it's really to me like a third eye, you know, the color of the third eye chakra, which is, and she covers her eyes with the mask, which is like, just don't get over absorbed by the external, you know. She, again, she's covering her eyes, which is like, sometimes we need to really, and this is what the Scorpio kind of is also like, you know, I can feel like the guiding us towards like the shadow work, you know. We have to go into the darkness, because that's where the new things are being born, you know. It's this unlimited potential of that. And even though this is a full moon, so it's fully illuminating, it's not dark, but we know every ending, new beginning is all in the cycles, right? But to me, looking at this card and the color, the predominant color is obviously all these like, you know, like shades of gray and light and, you know, like dark and stuff. But the one that really is like, it's like the major color in the card is the blue, you know, this peacock blue, like a really strong blue, which is the third eye chakra color. And with her covering her physical eyes, to allow for actually this other eye to get activated. And it's interesting that last week, I think it was in the part 1, right, when we had the 9 of Swords, when it had all this moon, the man had all this moon around his head, and she has all this moon around her dress, you know, so it's gone from top to bottom. Like not all the phases exactly, but it's interesting how there is a continuation of these messages and the cycle. It's not, this is not, nothing is happening in separation. And just as last week we were like, don't allow the external to take away your peace. And, you know, like there is always a guidance, there is always a support, even though the external might not look at it that way or doesn't make us feel a certain way at the moment. But then there is this, again, the invitation, okay, well, let's go within and see what we can find there.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like I see that idea of sort of has like migrated down, which is good, because we were in the head, we were in this air element, and that was the guidance, was to get down into. Sorry, I have my dog is barking. He's notifying us that yes, you're on to something. We have this energy of moving it down and grounding it. But even here, we see that the dress looks very galactic. It looks very like the universe, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So as you say, go within, you know, as within, so without. And so through this shadow work that we're being invited to do, and through going within, we're able to access it all, you know. So there's really beautiful symbolism in that too, I think, for like a larger message that's coming in.
And it's also like the Rumi quote, like, don't stop acting so small. You have the entire universe within you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like we always looking outside to find the answers, to find the universe, but everything you're seeking outside is also within you.
Right. And to think that we can will it by pushing outwardly versus the power really being within, and the magic happening from here, and then in turn rippling out. So I feel that energy too. Let's see what our tarot cards are that go with, so we can get that going with our spread. This is the Psychic Tarot. So we're switching it up this time between our two soul decks that we like to use.
And it goes well, the purple with her dress, right?
Yeah, I was thinking that when you said that, I was like, ooh, the backs of these, because I know last time we went with the heart with the emerald green because of Libra. This time we're going with this. So I love that energy coming in. So we're doing our to know, to do, and be for this lunar eclipse, full moon in Taurus. What to know, do, and be.
Yeah, and by the way, if people don't know, this eclipse will be taking place on Saturday on the 28th. Well, depending where you are in the world, but for I believe majority of the world, it will be happening on the 28th.
Yeah. Another Saturday.
Yep, Saturday is the Saturn day.
Yeah.
It's interesting that this card has the number 4 when we put the digits together, which is the energy of Saturn.
Well, there we go. Well, this is already a 13. So yeah, the 4 energies there.
Yeah.
Let's see what comes up here to know. So we've got Ace of Cups.
Nice.
So the water element for sure is present with that Ace of Cups. That's a beautiful card. And ooh, the Lovers just winked at me.
Nice.
Ooh, jumpers. To do, action, energy. More cups, the 5 of Cups. Wow, okay.
Water.
So emotional loss is the word on that card. And then to be. So the yin energy coming in. Nine of Wands.
We are familiar with this one. We've seen it before.
I love it. Talk about the will. Yeah, so that's actually perfect, the 9 of Wands, using that word will. Wow, so green is still, but here this is like the hybrid of the two, as we were just saying, like the different energies. So to know is we have this love begins, and it's the Ace of Cups. So it's bringing in an offering of something new that is blended. We're seeing the 2 different hands pouring from one bowl. And so there's this energy of flow and continuity. It's continuing. So yes, it's ending this cycle, this particular eclipse cycle that's closing out this energy from November of 2021. But we know that the previous eclipse began a new cycle that's already in flow and already blending and alchemizing, and those energies are here, and those old energies, and they're all sort of like coming together and flowing in this way that's you know, it feels like there's something to be offered from both, you know. And of course here it shows like the split between 2 sides. I think we've had this card before, because I remember talking.
I'm just literally looking at it, and I'm pretty sure that if it wasn't in the last one, it might have been in the one before, but we've had this card recently.
Yeah.
I'm sure about that. Yeah. So it's interesting that the cards are being persistent, saying the same thing, that in order for something new to begin, you need to let something go.
But also the idea that too, that like maybe we were looking at it with fresh eyes, because when it came up before, or the context that it came in, we now know things or have experienced things that, might change the story. It might actually change right? So the way that I related to this energy before could be different. And I think as we get into the next card, we might have varying degrees of feelings about that, because as things change, as things leave and new things come in, inevitably we're going to be feeling emotion. We're going to have there's going to be some type of a emotional reaction to those feels, those changes or whatever they are that are coming in. I kind of always feel like it's a story, so I don't want
Yes,
to
exactly.
skip anything to be said about this Ace of Cups before talking about the Five of Cups, but they definitely feel very connected.
Yeah, to me as well. And even with the first card, because like just like you said, that now the card might have a completely different meaning to what we knew before, because with this full moon lunar eclipse, which is the last one of this axis in Taurus, that is like kind of culminating the story of the 2 years and also giving us an illumination point, like more clarity with regards to certain topics. And the first card is saying like, well, in a sense, to me, even though it's not saying that, it's saying will, but to me it's saying you need to will to go within. And then we have this, like, because this is where the new story can begin with regards to us seeing things differently, like giving an opportunity for some new energy to be birthed, because of like, then yes, and that's exactly like what I felt, like how we can even interpret this card separately if they like connected to one another in such a strong way. Because to me it's like the first card is saying that there is something new beginning, but for that something needs to end, and something is creating space for something new to begin. But at the moment we are still in this place where we feel in the loss potentially, or we still hurting from something that potentially happened in these past 2 years for some of us. But there is always something new beginning at the same time, because like even with the nautilus shell, like there is a
Yeah.
continuous cycle in life, right?
Yeah. And perhaps again, like as we might be coming into new awarenesses, this is the card that traditionally speaks of cups that have spilled,
Yeah.
so something has been lost in our life, something is draining from our life, its contents are not getting back in the cup, or perhaps our cups were never filled with those contents. So there is a grieving of a loss, and yet could we potentially be coming into seeing how it was exactly that loss that created the opening for the new love that is beginning, or the new what is now flowing in was made possible by the loss or the exit of something else. And that we can simultaneously hold that awareness and also be grieving it, and also be feeling it, the absence of it, because we're still in that in between, maybe, of filling it with what is new that's just coming in, that hasn't quite come into materialization yet. So there
Yeah.
can be this coming into the heart space and allowing it to heal, allowing it to do, the grief and love being it is of different aspects of the same, that without love we wouldn't have the grief, and vice versa. um but the five, of course, is challenging and can be tricky energy and chaotic, and all the things that are just unground do feel, it just feels again like just um trying to get grounded in moving through all of that and coming out on the other side with the will to persevere, which definitely brings us into the Nine of Wands for sure. So feeling that too.
Yeah, and to me, like, I don't know why I just literally had this thought in my head that literally this is speaking about the collective energy right now to me, that we need to like will ourselves in a sense, because I know with everything that's going on in the world, it's a very heavy for a lot of people. I'm not obviously trying to project my opinions into the ether and say this is what everybody's experiencing, but many of us are feeling this heavy energy. And for a lot of people, it might feel like hopeless, like feel like I don't even have a will to keep going on. So that's why the first card to me really is like willing us forward. You need to keep going, because we don't even know how close we might be to the other end of the tunnel, because we're right in the midst of it right now. And with it's quite interesting, because with the traditional tarot, as you said, with the Five of Cups, there is this this spilled milk, right? I know that you refer to it in the past that way, is the crying over spilled milk. So it's all these like spilled cups, right? But in the first card, the one of cups, there is also a pouring water of the cup, so the cup is not spilled, but still the water is coming out of it. So isn't that amazing? And literally paradoxical, and that's what the life is on planet Earth, unfortunately, because we're living in the duality polarity experience over here. So with the first card, it's saying to us that there is something new that is coming, with the water is being spilled, but is poured, so it's just, again, to me, it's all about perception. How do we identify this story? How do we look at it? Because we could even say, like, yeah, he's spilling the water from the first cup. Why is he doing that? Or them, because obviously it's two different people. Whereas in the fifth card, we would say that cup spilled. It's like it's a loss, right? It's an emotional loss. But what if it isn't? What if it had to happen for something else to come in? But right now, in this moment, it feels heartbreaking. It feels it might feels like, what is the point? But with the Ace of Cups, it's saying, but there is something else being birthed at the same time. We just don't know it yet, and that's what the last card is, to me, saying that we have the strength to keep going. Which, again, like the first card and the last card, to me, are communicating with each other, right? So, like, it really feels to me, first card and the last card and the second and the third, but all together are weaving a story, and to me it feels really collective.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like these anchor it in, like they feel strong. I mean, this is literally called spiritual strength. This is called will. So it's like, yes, in the middle, it's tough. There is emotional loss. There are feels of all kinds. Even if they're good feels, it's emotional. So we're moving all of that. And that does take, it can't be under scored to say that it's something that takes a lot of energy and the ability for us to sustain going through the motions of a day to day while feeling some really big things and moving through some really big things. And so have that release, allow yourself to move that energy, and then recognize that that is actually clearing the way, and in some cases creating more a cleansing or a clarifying of the fact that you actually do have the strength to persevere, and that you are also not alone. That's a message that we were getting last time too, is like you clearly see the higher self or guide or energy supporting that you're not alone, even when it does feel that way. And this energy of it can feel very intense, but actually perseverance. The Nine of Wands is going to talk about moving through those things, but don't give up. It's the energy of we're culminating into an ending, which precipitates a new beginning, which is these two cards. This is the ending of something we've lost, but this is the new beginning. So it's all connected, and it's all anchored here on either end, I feel, with those two cards. Yeah.
It's like obviously, as many people say, the time is not linear. So, like, usually there is the five, which is the change, this something that shock us out of our comfort zone and stuff. And then is the nine, like there things are combinating, but things are beginning at the same time, because nothing is linear. But also, like, again, taking it a little bit from the collective point of view, and what we've been experiencing collectively with the Nautilus shell, and and this is something we spoke about already previously. There is nothing new under the sun. The cycles are coming around for us to resolve, but also is the evolution that we as a human collective are currently we are on a spiral up. But in order to get higher, we need to pass the test, in a sense. We need to re-experience some of the things that are dysfunctional. And in many cases, these things have been extremized. They are kind of showing up as an extreme by this point. But it's all to help us to go higher, to be able to continue in this evolutionary way. And again, looking at this as a collective message, all the cards together, there has to be a change. there has to be a shift, and we have everyone supporting us. We have our higher self, you know, there is that will, the will within you, your I am is willing you forward. You just need to be willing to connect to it. So, and there is also that, you know, like the guides, you know, like with the last guides, is the guides, but it's also like, you know, like the whole universe, because the whole universe is within us, like as within, so without, and as above so below. But so the whole universe is supporting us in this process of evolution, because in essence there is no separateness, we are all connected. And that's why I really feel that, like, this message I'm tapping into here, because also it is the Taurus, which is all about survival and preservation and what really matters. And with Uranus being in Taurus since 2018, which was obviously just before Uranus moving to Taurus, you know, just like a year before we had this first eclipse in Taurus. And to me, it's like on a grand level, on a great grand scheme, things are being completely reevaluated because of these tower moments we are experiencing individually and collectively, because things are changing. And there is this new consciousness, this new way of relating and feeling. This you know, Ace of Cups, it's all about these emotions. It's about, you know, like, it's the potential for the relationship. The Two of Cups that eventually leads to Ten of Cups is this, like, where everybody is happy and everybody gets on, and it's this heaven on earth, right? And I feel that that's what we are in a process of creating, manifesting. Nothing is linear, it already exists, but it's all happening simultaneously with the tower moments at the same time. And that's why all these cards to me are represented these different multidimensional realities we are experiencing, and they all happening at once. And that's why also we all, like most of us, feel really tired and drained, but there is a lot of support. And this is happening exactly as it must in order for this new energy to be fully manifested.
Yeah. I'm definitely feeling all of that. And as you were saying that, not only did my ear just start ringing, but the feeling about time not being linear, and the idea that it seems like the blessing comes in first, right? Love begins this new, whatever it is, timeline, potentiality, even just an upgrade in your own consciousness, means that then when we turn and look at where we've been or what our surroundings look like, you can also be feeling that emotional loss, because it's sort of like the way that she has this mask over her eyes, like as the curtain is peeled back, or as you're seeing things from this new higher vibration or in this new light, again, everything around us hasn't caught up yet. So what we see on the outside doesn't yet reflect what perhaps we're just getting a taste that is possible. For those of us who are feeling that frequency, there is a lot of grieving and loss that's to be felt when you don't yet see your environment reflecting that back to you. All the more reason why we're being called to go within and continue to do that work in order to be able to bring that out into the external. So I was feeling that too as you were describing that, because that really feels like, yeah, so the blessing's already here, it's come in, there's this new clarity, this new availability of this energy that we can tap into, but yet we're still, you know, in here, this environment where that, as we've said before, the environment's not changing. It's, well, the environment's changing, but we're not changing location. We're staying here. It's just that we don't yet see that reflected back to us. So I think there's that feeling of feeling like it's all, what is the meaning? And you can feel very overwhelmed by that. And yet we're being encouraged here to be perseverant in knowing that we have the spiritual strength and the support in able to sustain it and to maintain it as we move into the new.
Yeah, and I also just wanted to add with the Five of Cups, because there are cups that are spilled, but then there are still cups that are standing. And those are the ones that we need to focus on. And the continuation will be the Six of Cups, and that's the one we had last week with, you know, that father behind the sun, like, you know, the spirit guides we were saying cheering on, which is, again, nothing is linear, but everything is connected. And I feel with these Five of Cups, and some spilled, some still standing, it's like, yes, we can look at the world right now, even your own life, and see all these things we've lost. But there are these things that are still standing. So it's also like what are we focusing on? what are we really focusing on? And it's not, doesn't mean that that which is spilled doesn't exist. It is there, but just like you said, we need to go within and like sit with this darkness, with this void, to actually be able to bring this light into manifestation, because that's where everything is being birthed. Like the womb, is the place of the darkness. So in a sense, that it is usually darkest times in human history that birth the change, because that's usually where people got inspired and motivated, and because they were brought back into their heart by what they observed and experienced and stuff. So again, everything that is happening is divinely orchestrated, and it is happening because this is what needs to take place in order for the other things to also be able to manifest. Which, yes, it could be easy for me to say, being where I am and having the experience I am having, but everybody is connected to the same source. So in a sense, whatever is anybody experiencing, we are still co-creating, and we are still part of the same human collective. So I really feel, without going any much deeper into the rabbit holes and stuff, I just really feel that these cards are being literally describing exactly what's going on right now, whether it's your microcosm, which I'm sure it is for many of us, something similar, or energy of something like this that we are being experiencing at the moment. And also is the microcosm, the collective, human collective, and what's going on planet Earth right now. But it is the new that is being birthed from the darkness of what we are leaving behind.
Yeah. Yeah. And just everything you're saying is just right here in these two, in that it's all streaming into the same source. So another Rumi quote that I love is about, that you're not just a drop in the ocean, but the entire ocean in a drop, right? So again, all the connectedness, the downstream effects and all of that, and then also the whole galaxy right here within you. So there's just this energy of coming back into the place that we do have will over, which is within ourself and our own will to persevere, and how are we going to contribute into this ocean of humanity? What is my drop going to be? Am I going to be coming from the place of the spilled, what is lost, what is draining, or am I going to turn to the full cups that I do have and pour from that place? And I see that now too here. So here we are, both hands on the same vessel, pouring in. So what is my drop going to be? What's my contribution going to be in my little world with my little hands and my only ability to affect anything? What is that going to be? And having the will to make it so, to bring it forward into. Yeah.
There are two things that came to me. So the first one was, you said that the card of the lovers winked at you. Where is the lovers? Is the choice. Which one do you want to choose? Because you have the free will, right? And
Yeah.
then the second thing was that with the crying over the spilled milk, like in many cases, is this really the milk you wanted? Because like this is, I think, something which, again, with the Taurus full moon lunar eclipse, that we are being invited, again, the stories we are holding on to and attached to, that is really the things that we had experienced. And there is nothing new in the sun. Like I said, things are always coming around, but is that really what we want to keep experiencing? So now, having the opportunity, in a sense, to see the distraction of what was the spilled milk, like, is this something we want to rebuild again, or we want to rebuild something different? Because in many cases, once again, because of the comfort zone, Taurus, because of the familiarity, we are attached to something, but is that really something that still serves you, or something that you still want? So that's what I mean with this card of Five of Cups, which is the card of loss. And there are spilled cups, but there are still standing cups. And there is still a potential. There is always a potential, especially with the Ace of Cups. There is so much potential.
Yeah.
So I really feel that these four cards, like, literally, there is such a deep message in them.
Yeah. And it's a deep, I mean, so it should be, you know, because it is deep. There is a lot of depth here. Scorpio season. So, yeah, I mean, of course, we're going to get two water cards and we're going to be in the feels and all of those things for sure. So, it's right on, and it is about really the takeaway being about perseverance and maintaining that will to persevere and really exercising your will where you can affect change. And so it's about how you're experiencing all of it.
And I
Yeah.
mean, we are having Mars and Mercury conjunction in Scorpio literally the day after, and Jupiter is in opposition, like I said, to the Sun and everything that's going on in Scorpio. So it's very interesting. But also, I just want to mention yesterday during my tarot class that the three words that came to my mind regarding of what I was experiencing during the class was discipline, dedication, and determination. And I
Mm,
feel that still these three Ds are applicable even, with regards to the energy we're tapping into here. We need to dedicate, we need to be determined and have a discipline to will ourselves to keep going,
yeah.
because there is something else that's being birthed. And in many cases, I'm sure that it has a lot of potential to be much better to the cups that are spilled.
Yeah, I think this is very telling of there's a lot of beautiful energy on the other side of that rainbow of coming through, but in order to get there we have to experience this period of loss or the depth of where that's taking us, but ultimately by persevering, we see how we can actually have a lot of gratitude and love for the fact that it was in fact the losses that made it possible, that created the opening for what is new to come in. Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful reading. Like,
Yeah.
not an easy one, and potentially not easy one for people to have to digest or
Yeah.
maybe to have to think about. But like you said, we are in a Scorpio season, and Scorpio is ruled by Pluto, and Pluto is now direct. So Pluto is going for it.
Yeah. It's back.
It's back. Yeah, Pluto is
Yeah.
back. So yeah, the lunation, I mean, Venus is the ruler of Taurus, but Sun is in Scorpio, ruled by Pluto, and in modern rulers, traditional rulership ruled by Mars, which is also in Scorpio and in conjunction with Sun still. Actually, the exact conjunction will be on November 18th, but they are already getting close, Sun and Mars.
Busy time, heavy time, all the things, but I think this is saying that we got this. So
Yep, yep, we indeed do, because, why do you play so small? You are the
yeah,
universe. You are the universe. Don't play so
in a
small.
drop, in just one drop. Yep.
Yes. So what do you
Beautiful.
feel? Do you feel we've got it covered?
I kind of do. I was like, should we pick one more or not? I mean, we've got the four, and it does feel like these are anchoring. So I kind of feel pretty good about it. I mean, what do you think? Do you
Well, I
want?
guess I guess we can leave it for the part two and see, because I feel that the message of the Taurus full moon is pretty covered in these four cards. And the first card is number 13, which is a number 4, and we have 4 cards. And the last
Yeah.
one is the number 9, which is not the complete end, is the number 9, which is a culmination. But I really feel that people will get what they need to know about this Taurus full moon from these 4 cards. And I feel that, perhaps the card 10 will be coming up in part 2 for the post eclipse energies video, which you can find on our YouTube channels next week.
Yeah, sounds good. So to be continued, right? On the other side.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, so I think this was really profound, very deep. So as always, Marissa, please tell everyone, what do you have on your menu and where can people find you?
Yeah, well, as we're navigating all of these energies, at this time of the month, we come around to a new month coming in with the empowerment pack. So November is kicking off here next week as we're recording this. So opportunity to jump in and be a part of the empowerment pack, which is going to be 3 readings throughout the month of November to guide you with month ahead energy, with supporting energies of spirit animal, color, crystal, and other tools that I bring in to support you. And then we tune in at each of the lunations for guidance and card pulls throughout. So that's my favorite offering. And I think this is such a great time as we're winding down the year to jump in. So empowerment pack.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the next one will be the new moon in Scorpio. So I'm sure
Yeah,
people
that's
want some help
definitely
and some guidance with regards to their self-empowerment. And yeah, and for me, as everybody who is watching this channel probably knows, you can find me on all the social media at Moonlight Soul 369, and also you can find all my offering on my website www.moonlightsoul369.com. So that's where you find me. And thank you again, Marissa, for joining me for this delightful, intense, in-depth conversation. And thank you, everybody, for watching.
See you next time.
See you. Yeah, see you on the next one.